What's up, guys? Today I have a pretty important topic of discussion to have. I really wish my channel was a little bigger so it could reach a broader audience, but nonetheless, that is Josh Emmett, and pretty much what happened at UFC 276, as well as what happened on Ariel Helwani's MMA Hour a couple days ago when he interviewed Yair Rodriguez. So I want to start off by saying UFC 276 showcased the trilogy bout between Alexander Volkanovski and Max Holloway. And the UFC had Josh Emmett at the event. They brought his family to the event, but he wasn't first row. He wasn't showcased as the next in line. And it really, really upsets me because, dude, Josh Emmett is clearly next in line. Literally, like, Urijah Faber did a whole interview about this. And to be honest with you, I got a hint of arrogance from it. But honestly, I get where he's coming from. He's right. Like, it's Josh's time. And the UFC didn't do so much to put him first row, or at least where all these stars are getting seen in between fights and the camera goes to them. He wasn't given that spot. Merely all they had to do was sit him in a seat like that and say, the winner of this trilogy bout will defend their title against this man. Number 3 ranked Josh Emmett. That's all they had to fucking do. And they neglected to do it. Okay, first off. Second off, Yair Rodriguez went on the MMA Hour this week and told Ariel Helwani that the UFC has told him that with a win over Brian Ortega this Saturday at UFC on ABC 3, he will be awarded the next title shot. Okay? And I'm going to tell you why this is a serious fucking problem, why it's seriously bullshit. First off, Yair Rodriguez is 29 years old. All right? He's not 37. He's 29. He has all the time in the world. Not to mention, he lost his last fight to Max Holloway. Do you know what he did before that? Took nearly 3 years off. Okay? A win over Brian Ortega, which I do predict him to beat Brian Ortega. A win over Brian Ortega makes it 1 win straight. That would make him 1-1 since 2019. Right now, he's 0-1 since 2019. Josh Emmett has since gone 3-0 since 2019. Since Yair took a break after 2019, Josh Emmett has gone 3-0, while Yair has gone 0-1. They're both tied for the number 3 ranking, and you're going to give the shot to Yair? Are you kidding me? There are so many different title fights you could make with him over the next several years. Like, okay, so, yeah, there you go. That would make it a 1-fight win streak fight for Yair Rodriguez. And Josh Emmett has battled injuries throughout his entire career. Okay, he's been relatively inactive. Yair has been far more inactive than him recently. Like, far more inactive. And not as successful. Okay, there's point number 1. Point number 2. The trilogy bout between Max and Volkanovski was supposed to go down earlier this year. I believe in March. Maybe it was April. I don't really remember. It was supposed to go down earlier this year. And it didn't because Max Holloway got injured. He had to withdraw from the bout. Who does the UFC call up to take his place? Chan Sung Jung. Someone also on a 1-fight win streak. He was coming off 1 win. Before that, he lost to Brian Ortega. He was on a 1-fight win streak. Okay? He had already fought for a belt previous, even though it was years and years ago. He'd already fought for a belt previous. Josh Emmett's never fought for the UFC belt. And they give the shot to Jung. Jung wasn't even that much higher in rank than him. Josh Emmett was 16-2 at that time. Chan Sung Jung was 17-6 at that time. Emmett was on a 4-fight win streak. Jung was on a 1-fight win streak. They gave it to Chan Sung Jung. Bullshit. I think if you watch that fight, which I'm sure a lot of you did, you'd see Josh Emmett would put up a more competitive fight than that. Even if he lost, dude, that fight was one of the least competitive title fights of all time. Not to mention, Chan Sung Jung's 1-fight win streak at that time, that 1 win came over Dan Ige, who Josh Emmett was also coming off a win over. Josh Emmett has now won 5 straight in the UFC's featherweight division, okay? The only guy he couldn't knock down, he's got 2 knockouts in those 5 wins. The only guy he couldn't knock down was Calvin Kattar in his last fight, who he won a split decision against, okay? But really, it should have been unanimous. I don't know how in the hell anyone could think Calvin Kattar won that fight. I went back and rewatched it. The first round, neither guy really did much, but Emmett did press forward, and he did back Calvin up with a lot of his shots. Josh Emmett definitely took the second and third rounds. Did more of the same than he did in the first, but much more effectively. The fourth round, for sure, Calvin Kattar's round. The fifth round could have went either way. It was very close. That was at least a 48-47, if not 49-46 win for Emmett. I scored at 48-47, but I could see either scorecard. I think those are the only two correct ways to score that fight, too. Some people's argument for Calvin Kattar winning that fight was look at their faces at the end of it. And this is the stupidest fucking argument that I constantly hear MMA fans make. And it's just so ignorant. Look at GSP's face after he fought Nick Diaz. Okay, look at George St. Pierre's face after he fought Carlos Condit. Do you really think GSP lost either of those fights? He looked fucking battered, dude. Some people wear damage differently than others, and especially at 37 years old, like Josh Emmett is, he's going to wear damage a little bit differently than someone that's a few years younger, like Calvin Kattar, who's 33 or 34. And for someone who has battled injuries throughout their entire career, seriously, their entire career, well before they even got to the UFC, and got a late start. Okay, he started fighting at 25, 26, 27. You know, you got a pretty late start because he took time away from Team Alpha Male to go and wrestle in college. By the time he got back, he was in his mid-late 20s. He has gotten to the top, and he's remained on top. He hasn't lost his spot. Okay, he has been relatively consistent, as I argued earlier, much more consistent than Yair Rodriguez, who they want to give the next title shot to. And not to mention, didn't Tony Ferguson show us what happens when you're never really given your shot? He got old overnight. And no matter what version of Tony Ferguson fought Justin Gaethje, I think Gaethje would win that fight. I said that going into that fight. That's why I was so pissed that they didn't just rebook Khabib versus Tony for later that year in September. Because, dude, I knew Gaethje was going to beat him. Nonetheless, he got old overnight. Okay, and he was never given a shot. We have a chance to not have that happen again. Okay, Tony Ferguson went into that fight with a 25-3 record. He was 15-1 in the UFC on a 12-fight win streak. You know what his record is now? 25-7. He lost his last 4 straight without ever getting his undisputed title shot. That just goes to show when you lose it, you lose it. When you don't have it anymore, you don't have it anymore. And this brings me back to UFC 276, to where it makes me believe the UFC doesn't want to promote older fighters. Dana White said that on his Contender Series one episode when he offered Derek Krantz, a contract with the UFC. He was like 30, 31 years old. He's like, dude, I don't usually go for older talents. I want younger guys, but you earned a shot in the UFC. Well, they don't want to promote older fighters, which, especially in the lower weight classes. But dude, it doesn't matter if he's older. He's still got it right now. Right now, he's still one of the best in the world, and you're shunning him. And it's so fucked up. Like, it extremely pissed me off to the point, like, dude, I really wish I could do something about it. I really wish I could help Josh because he needs his title shot. All right? Like, I don't care if you don't want to promote older fighters. First off, Volkanovski would probably beat him anyways. It would make a very good title defense to add to his resume. Secondly, even if Josh Emmett did win, he's a little bit older. He probably won't hold on to the belt very long. Both scenarios of which, your problem, UFC, your problem is solved. So Alexander Volkanovski has talked about moving up to the lightweight division following his win over Max. Actually, he started talking about it leading up to it. That would be cool. That'd be really cool to see. Honestly, I could see him winning that belt for sure. But he's out 12 weeks with a thumb injury. All right. And not to mention, Charles Oliveira versus Islam Makhachev has not been signed yet, let alone hasn't happened yet. It's probably going to happen later on in the year in September, October, November, somewhere around there. That hasn't happened yet. That needs to happen before he moves up. Okay. Like, I can't stand when people just jump the line and contenders get fucked. It's not cool. Like, if you don't have any clear contenders, or if you have someone that has a little bit more work to do, sure, have a champ fight, or have a champion versus champion fight. But Islam needs his title shot. Charles Oliveira needs his title shot because he's not technically the UFC lightweight champion, which is fucking asinine. Okay, yeah, he missed weight by half a pound. Norma Dumont, that fought on that same card at UFC 274, also missed weight by half a pound. And there were a number of other fighters on that card that said they weighed half a pound less in their hotel, on their hotel scale, than they did at the official weigh-in scale. That was a big load of bullshit. Okay, first off, so both men, Oliveira and Islam, need to fight each other. They are the clear number 1 and number 2 lightweights in the world. That needs to be a vacant lightweight title fight. So that would leave Volkanovski, because once that fight's signed, it's going to be at least 3 or 4 months until it happens anyway. By then, Volkanovski will be healed. He'll be able to, enter himself into a fight camp and, yeah, fight Josh Emmett. And if he beats Josh Emmett, then move up and fight the winner of Islam versus do Bronx. That seems like a very, very perfect remedy to this problem to me. Emmett is healthy, okay? He just fought within the last couple weeks, and he's healthy. He's healthy post-fight for once. He's 17-2. Okay, that's the best record of anyone Volkanovski would have made his title defenses against. Okay, he won the belt against Max Holloway when he was when Max was 21-4. Max was obviously 21-5 going into the rematch. He was 23-6 going into the trilogy. Ortega was 15-1, so I guess you could argue he had a better record or a similar record to Emmett. And Jung was 17-6. Those are Volkanovski's title defenses. Emmett's 17-2. All right, like, one of those losses is a split decision as well. And the other loss, he got illegally kneed on the ground before he got knocked out. I'm not saying he should be 19-0, but there's some controversies in those losses. Emmett is number 3 in the world. Max Holloway and Brian Ortega are the only contenders ahead of him. Okay, obviously other than Volkanovski, but he's not a contender, he's the champion. So technically he's got a C next to his name, not a number. Okay, yeah, Max and Ortega, they're the only 2 ahead of him. Ortega is 1-2 in his last 3 fights. Both losses came in title fights to Max Holloway and Alexander Volkanovski. Both are one of the most one-sided beatdowns you'll ever see in your life. Now, he had some moments of brilliance in that Volkanovski fight, but, dude, he got beat down for over 20 minutes of it. Like, honestly, that fight should have been stopped after either the 3rd or 4th round. I don't remember, but he laid on his back for, like, half of the round intermission. Like, 30 seconds after the round ended, he was still laying on his back. And his corner fucking picked him up and put him on his stool and woke him back up. Woke him back up. He wasn't sleeping. But, all right, so there you go. That eliminates Ortega, even with a win over Yair. And then Max Holloway, Alexander Volkanovski is still the champion. Max Holloway is 0-3 against Alexander Volkanovski. I believe he should be 1-2 against him. But, dude, this trilogy, it showed us who the better man is. There is no doubt anymore whatsoever Alexander Volkanovski is the better man. So though I believe he should be 2-1 against Max, though at least half of the MMA fan base believes he should be 2-1 against Max, he's 3-0 against him. Okay? Neither of them are fighting Alexander Volkanovski for the belt anytime soon. The only other contender that leaves us with is fellow number 3 ranked. He's tied with Josh Emmett for the number 3 ranking, is Yair Rodriguez, who I already made the argument he doesn't deserve a title shot with a win this Saturday. Not anywhere near as much as Emmett does anyways. Like, I really don't understand why the UFC is doing this. It's so fucked up. And Josh at UFC 276 was saying, man, I wish they would just release me. Like, this is bullshit. And you know what? I'm starting to think that too. I really wish they would release him so he could get signed to Bellator and have a potential of winning a world title. Because it doesn't look like the UFC is going to do the right thing here. It's just like when Michael Bisping was the champion and we had contenders like Gegard Mousasi who left for Bellator because of this bullshit. Same exact fucking problem. He left on a 5-fight win streak with 4 knockouts. Yoel Romero, Robert Whitaker, But when Michael Bisping was the champion, who did he defend his belt against? Dan Henderson, who was 3-6 in his last 9, and then Georges St. Pierre, who beat him, who hadn't fought in 4 years. 3 contenders that all deserve title shots. They all deserve title shots at that time. Honestly, they should have created an interim title, had 2 of them fight each other, and then had one of them fight Bisping. But they didn't do that. They didn't give those guys their shots. And it's fucked up. When this dude is almost 40 years old, like, he doesn't have all the time in the world. As I said, Tony Ferguson has shown us what happens. It's like Tony Ferguson versus Habib and Tony Ferguson's career in general have turned into 2 of the bigger tragedies in the sport's history. Like, don't let that happen again, you know? Like, do the right thing. Give this man his title shot, you know? And then there's guys like Arnold Allen and Movsar Evloev. You know, they'll be contenders in a couple years to come. Both of them have a likelihood of winning the belt, but they're not quite there yet. They haven't beat top 5 guys like Josh Emmett has. Okay? So whether Volkanovski does stay in the 45-pound division or he moves up to 55, it don't matter to me. I'd rather see Volkanovski fight Emmett, but it doesn't matter. Give Josh Emmett his title shot. If Volkanovski wants to move up in his next fight and say, fuck do Bronx versus Islam, and you want to give Yair his title shot, then fucking put Yair in there with Josh Emmett for the vacant title then. Like, do something. Give this dude his title shot. Give him at least an interim title fight. Like, I don't want to see that. I'd rather see him fight for the undisputed belt like he deserves. Give him a title shot, UFC, please. Like, it truly makes me sick that he's dealing with this right now. And he comes back after these long layoffs, wins nearly every time. He hurt his knee 20 seconds into his fight with Shane Burgos, and he still won that fight. And Shane Burgos is a fucking tank of a man, dude. He is a massive featherweight that hits hard as fuck. Emmett fought 3 entire rounds with like 2 or 3 torn ligaments in his knee, and still won that fight and almost knocked him out in the 3rd round a number of times. Like, Josh Emmett has the grit. He's got the cardio. He's got the power. He's very good at striking. He's good at switching stances in the middle of his striking. He's good at setting up takedowns. He's not great at taking the very best in the world down, but he's very good at opening up his strikes with his takedown attempts. Like, dude, he's next in line. Give Josh Emmett his title shot. Thank you all for watching. I really appreciate it. Like and subscribe if you like my video. Have a good one.
Don't test me, oppress me, arrest me, on me. You best bring an army if you're dying to try me. Welcome to the greatest, love you when you hate us. Welcome to the greatest fucking show.